Hello, everybody. My name is Bill, and I'd like to welcome you back to another installment of Billboard Comics' recurring feature, Growing Up Comics. It's a feature where I go through my history as a comic book reader first, and a comic book collector second, and try to give you an insider's view to what it was like back then to read comic books and collect comic books, and my experiences through the whole wonderful journey and voyage of comic books. Today we're going to talk on a subject that I'm pretty sure is accurate, but I'm not exactly sure. We're going to talk about the first comic I remember buying off the newsstand. Um, and let me couch that by saying, like, I was 3 years old at the time, so I was not buying anything off the newsstand. I was not some kind of like free fab boss baby who had his own independent business that I could buy comic books by myself. Um, I wish that I was because I'd probably be really rich right now. But no, this is like the first one I remember actually choosing for myself, my parents buying for me. Like I said, it happened when I was like about 3.5 years old, which is one thing that makes you kind of think about that because like um, usually I don't have that good of a memory for stuff that happened yesterday, let alone something that happened back, you know, 51 years ago. Um, but I do have a distinct memory of going into my local general store. There's a general store that sold like candy and baseball cards and like bread and snacks and you know treats and stuff like that and other food stuff like milk and stuff and soft drinks up at the front of the trailer park I lived in. It's kind of like in case you didn't want to go to the supermarket down the road, you could just go to the front of the park, get what you need for the night, and then uh, to hold you over until you actually make a full grocery trip. But against the wall, he had a cascading metal wire rack of comic books. And I remember getting um, Dennis the Menace at the same time as this. I kind of remember this being having a green cover, but also focusing on Joey. And I talked about this in an earlier video. The two they published three books the same month that this other book came out. This featuring Dennis the Menace. One had a green cover, one was focusing on Joey, but they're separate books. But I digress. But at the same time I got that, I decided to branch out into something a little bit more scary, a little bit more like daring, a little bit weird and unusual. I decided to get my first superhero comic book that day. I think it's like I said, my first comic book at all, but one of my first comic books was a superhero comic book. And that comic book was Detective Comics 551. Um, I do have like for a long time I had the vaguest memory of it. I remember like bits and pieces of the story. Like there's a woman by a pool um, who smashed Batman over her head. I remember somebody being on their hands and knees, like almost crawling towards the camera. I thought it was the woman. Turns out it was Batman. He's in the splash page of this, which you might see up here. Um, and I remember the backup being Robin. I remember him being on a motorcycle. I remember him, one of the supporting characters, taking out like a guy with a arm in a cast, like WWE style, just popping on the head. Um, but it took me a while to track this down to figure out what it was because I knew it was a Batman book. I thought it was like the main Batman series, but through trial and error, and thanks to the DC Infinite Ultra um, uh, online comic book service, I was able to read a whole bunch during that period and find the right one. And I found this one that had the same thing. And I've never like growing up. I was never really a big fan of Batman or Superman over this time, and I always wondered why. And going back now as an adult and reading this issue, um, now I think I have reason why. Because not to be a um, you know the kind of pedantic fool who would give a bad review to a book that came out 50 years ago. Um, I'm going to give a bad review to a comic book that came out 50 years ago because this one is not very good. Um, uh, there are two stories in this issue to start off with. Um, the first one is a Batman story, obviously, because Batman was the star of Detective Comics. Robin had the backup feature. And it opens with the scene of like Batman in front of the pool with like obviously dealing from the after effects of having a bottle broken over his head by the female lead for this issue at least. If not, I don't know if she ever made another appearance. Uh, one by the name of Molly Post, who is apparently some kind of athlete. Like I think she's a tennis player or something like that. So like that's kind of what grabbed you on the splash page. The front cover, as you saw, probably already because it popped up there, was kind of a generic kind of Batman cover that really didn't tie into what you'd expect inside the thing. Um, but once you flip the page and go into the actual story proper, we find out that Bruce Wayne is with Molly and another person by the name of um, Cumming Streeter. I'm sorry about that. A little delay. Maybe I'll excise it for a little bit. Cumming Streeter. Yes. Man by the name of Cumming Streeter who's hanging out with these three. How they knew each other, they don't. The comic book doesn't mean to tell you. Why they are together on this case, we don't really know. But they all appear to be very chummy. Like they know each other for at least a little bit, enough to actually hang around and walk around a resort town in the Caribbean. Yeah, because they're in a town called San Carrera, I think, for a tennis tournament, which Molly's going to participate in. And, they're there just to like hang out and do stuff like this. And Bruce Wayne is there because he's an international playboy and supposedly and do that. And they're walking around and just exchanging bon mots when Bruce Wayne sees this older gentleman sitting at the table by the pool. So he excuses himself, so he has to do some like get a ticket or whatever for the thing or some excuse like that. Goes off, and a second later, Batman's back there, and he starts hassling the old guy, whose name I believe is Baldy. Baldy, Baldy Angel. Well, his first name is Baldy, so let's go with that. Older gentleman who, as you can tell by the name Baldy, has buck teeth. No, he's going bald. This is not exactly a subtle kind of story. So he's there. He recognizes Baldy as being a nefarious figure in the underworld, and Batman goes over and hassles him. And you think like Batman would have a certain amount of fame. They certainly know, Molly certainly knows who he is. I think even Cumming, it was a similar time. They didn't know any better. But Cumming Streeter knew who he was. But they start hassling Batman for hassling the old man. Why is he getting such trouble for the old man? Me personally, if I knew enough about Batman that I knew his modus operandi and how he worked, I would, and probably you would too. You trust that if he's hassling an old man, the old man probably deserves to be hassled. Batman's not going to hassle somebody without a reason to do it. But Molly gets all in a snit about it and like is confronting Batman about it. But even worse than that, there's a bunch of American sailors who are there who sees Batman hassling the old man. And I don't know if this is like a story, a recurring subplot in the book at a time where Batman wasn't trusted and people hated him and thought he was a bully and thought he was going on. I wasn't, like I said, I only read this issue, so I have no idea if this is like something that was going on at the time. If you know, let me know in the comments. But whatever, he's there and he has there are a bunch of American sailors, Navy personnel, with the kind of white hat and white, uniforms, sitting there enjoying the tropical sun in the resort. And they decide to take umbrage with Batman harassing the old man by trying to take a swing at him. This, of course, ends exactly the way you think it would be, because even though there's 4 military trained young men who were probably younger than Batman at the time, going against Batman, he makes short work of them. Um, uh, Enough so that Baldy could sneak away. Um, so as soon as he's going away, he falls after him because sometimes during the haranguing of why he's doing the old man, um, Molly mentions he's a janitor at the hotel. Um, like like that right there. I mean, it's a minor thing, and this is going to be a lot of my this like come down to nitpicking. But like, if you have enough nits in the stuff, you just want to throw the whole stuff away. If you have like a whole bunch of like cockroaches in your your macaroni and cheese, you do not want to have your eat your macaroni and cheese anymore. So that's why I kind of think about this. But she goes at the hotel. Never mentions the name of the hotel. Never mentioned, and then it's and you think if like she knew Batman was Bruce Wayne, but she doesn't. It's made clear throughout the whole thing that she doesn't know that they're the same person. She'd know that, like, if she's talking to Bruce Wayne, she would know, like, hey, he's at the hotel, our hotel, the hotel we're both staying at. That'd be a little shorthand for that. Batman, it could be for any hotel. Um, Batman knows what hotel is because she's probably referring to her hotel, which he knows where she's staying at, which would creep me out. I would be upset about him beating up an old man. Him knowing where I was staying there in this stuff, like Caribbean paradise, that would freak me out just a little bit. But I digress. And also another thing, like it's you have two prominent people from Gotham, Bruce Wayne and Batman. There, Bruce Wayne leaves right before Batman shows up. They're both about the same height and same build, but nobody actually puts two together and realizes that they're one and the same person. A big joke about in the superhero books about like, you don't see Clark Kent and Superman in the same place at the same time, but seeing it play out here, somebody should have said something. Like, hmm, Bruce Wayne seemed to leave right before Batman showed up. I wonder if there's something there. Nothing, not referenced, not brought up, not anything like that. That was a little irksome. But getting back to the story, Molly let on that he's a janitor at the hotel, and I guess it's the hotel they're staying at, because Batman follows Baldy back to the hotel. Um, Molly follows Batman because she doesn't want Batman, that mean and nasty Batman, to take advantage of Baldy again. So he tries to again shake down Baldy for information. Um, and for his trouble, he gets hit over the head with a champagne bottle by Molly. Where she got the bat? Maybe she's carrying it from like the poolside. I don't know if there's like she's, looked like she was in the lobby of the actual hotel. I don't know if they have like just like random bottles of Dom Perignon hanging out there, but she hits Batman over the head with enough force to shatter the entire bottle. And I guess like security methods and quality control was a little bit different back in the '70s because even though it was broken over his head, it's a you know no trouble at all. It barely inconvenience. Um, because he's up and running right after doing that. Um, I've, you know, I haven't been hit in the head with a champagne bottle, thank goodness. But I have felt them, and they usually have some heft to them, and they're usually kind of hefty. And if you can hit over to the point where it actually shatters the bottle, not just breaks it, shatters it, I would be in dreamland for quite some time. Um, that just goes and goes off. He finally tracks down Baldy and finally gets the information off. But before he does that, we have a flashback to Gotham City, and we see Batman talking to Commissioner Gordon. Finally, the audience is letting into why he's after this guy so much. Apparently, there's going to be an assassination attempt at somebody at um, the tennis or the sporting event. They don't know exactly who. They don't know exactly who's going to be the assassin or who's going to be the target. But they know somebody's going to have done that down there, and that Baldy is involved in it somehow. So that's well, Batman says, "Well, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it." Yeah, I'm just gonna leave Gotham behind for a week, take a vacation down by the beach, and in the meantime, try to cut down on the whoever's trying to kill these people. But I digress. So he finally tracks down Baldy and gets him alone. Nobody's going to come there and hit him with a bottle of champagne again. Um, and finds out that the target was it's going to be Bruce Wayne. Dun, 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 dun. And the assassin is going to be this Latino man who Batman's familiar with. Very religious, has a high moral standard, has a high quality of like stuff like this. Um, so Batman goes back to try to track down the killer, like Wayne there, and then he comes to the realization: wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. The killer is a man of honor. He wouldn't like just kill like Batman without, Bruce Wayne, without having like some sort of like letting him know he's onto it or like that. And besides, like he said, this is like, you know, he's a religious man too. He wouldn't do this then. Like there must be something else there. And I forget what the clue was. Was like he eventually realizes that the true culprit, the true target is Molly, and the assassin is Cumming. No, I mean the man Cumming, Streeter. He was already there. Um, so Batman flies over to like her hotel, which I guess is apparently a different hotel there. Just as Streeter, uh, who knocked her unconscious, is tossing her unconscious body off the balcony, like he's about 10 floors up. Batman comes in, swings in, attached to what? We have no idea. If you've ever been to like one of these port cities, they don't really have a lot of skyscrapers. You can swing in a whole bunch of basically a whole bunch of hotels around the same size. So, but still, something that had a high enough point that he could actually uh, put his batarang around. He swings in, he catches her, and brings her back up to uh, her hotel room. Yeah, I know it's a comic book. You know, if you're going to be that pedantic about the laws of physics bill in a comic book, you you shouldn't be reading them. And number one, a little late to tell me that now, 50 years later. Uh, Number two, it's still got to like make some sense. Um, and this doesn't. I mean, like it's a, it same thing with Spider-Man. Spider-Man always finds a way to shoot his webs in a way that he can actually swing from place to place, even though like the amount of tall buildings in New York City is surprisingly lower than you expect. But I digress. He goes there, he gets her up enough torque to actually like swing it, like catch her, swing up to the thing, and go into the onto the patio and go into her room um, flawlessly. It didn't land anywhere placed in like missed this purchase, anything like that. Carrying her in there, it's just perfect because there's really no room in the story for him like getting the wrong apartment or anything like that. So he gets in there and like uh, Cumming is still there, and eventually he you know beats the crap out of him as Batman does, and is going to the authorities. And all the while, Molly is having a nervous breakdown. She's having a nervous breakdown in her room, apparently, which might it's a different, at least a different room from Bruce Wayne. Probably even a different hotel in the resort area, uh, like a different resort even. Um, the bottom of one, I'm going to put up here. The bottom of one page has her crying, sobbing, and sobbing, and Batman leaves. And then instantaneously, the top of the next page, like Bruce Wayne comes in, continuing the conversation that she was having with Batman beforehand, um, and all about how she really abhors violence, and how Batman is violent, and like Bruce Wayne defending himself, saying, "Well, yes, but he only does what he has to, and he doesn't like any more than you do. But if it helps people, keeps people safe, then he'll do whatever he needs to take it and stuff like this." And then like a picture of them both. I guess they walked out and walked on the beach. He's keeping her company and helping her like come off her cloud and stuff like that. It was just like, I mean, it's a pitiful one shot kind of like little one and done kind of story. I don't think any of the people who were in there were made an appearance again. I could be wrong. I mean, if you create a character with a name as special and unique as Cumming Streeter, uh, you probably want to use them again and again and again. I haven't heard of him anytime in the future since this. Um, but yeah, it's looking back, it just seems like it's just a sloppy kind of like haphazard kind of story, and like I'm like who wrote this stuff? And I look at the writer of it. The writer is uh, Denny O'Neil. Now, if you know anything about Batman or about the Silver Age or Bronze Age of comic books, Denny O'Neil is one of the premier writers in comic books, especially Batman comic books. He's the guy who came up with Ra's al Ghul, and this also did the whole John Stewart in Green Lantern and the Green Lantern drug issues and stuff like this. His partnership with Neil Adams was legendary. So he's not a slacker. He's not a bad writer. He's much better than this. So I don't feel like he did it Marvel style and just gave the plot like a brief plot to Ernie Chua, who's also known as Ernie Chan. He did the artwork for the series. Um, or he just got like a brief thing he fleshed out from editor Julie Schwartz. But this one, it was just like it wasn't a good one at all. It just like didn't make sense. It's like you know you know logic kind of like went out the window. You didn't really have if you just decided to have like a lobotomy and read this, then you might enjoy it more. But that's my 2 cents. Your miles might vary on that, but it was kind of weird for me at least. And if I read this as a kid, like I might not have been able to pick up most of like the big glaring holes in it, but I might have been just like eh. But that's only the first feature in the book. The second feature was Robin. It's Robin is opens up with Robin being a member of the uh, um, security personnel on a parking lot. He hears a scream, and he goes between cars to change into his costume out of his overalls for being a security guard. Um, and again, like the hits keep on coming because like you know you don't have a lot of room to like change your clothes in an active busy parking lot in between cars. Because like what if the person whose car you're changing next to is coming out? Because obviously he's working there, he's not parking there. What if somebody a couple aisles away looks over and sees you go down and all of a sudden Robin coming up? So that was not like daffy kind of stuff. But he comes out, leaves his clothes, his uniform somewhere. We don't know where. Comes there, kicks the guy's butt, and takes him in. And finally we found, and like the final thing where it's kicking him is put on the front page of a newspaper, where it does a little bit of the background. We find out that this is the second part of two-part storyline dealing with a man who is like a purse thief, purse snatcher, in one of the university parking lots. During this time, Robin was away at university, uh, and he wasn't really partnering with Batman on the reg. Um, so yeah, this is like he did this for like he was a college student for about 10 years before he went to um, form the New Teen Titans. But 10 years in comic book years is like 2 years in regular years, whatever. But I digress. He's there, and this is at the college he goes to, and he's trying to track down who stole like not only catch the purse snatcher because this, but also because the purse snatcher is being blamed for stealing $50,000 in tuition money from the bursar's office. Um, you know, I've worked in student loan marketing association, um, and I could tell you, I don't know if things were different back in the 70s. They probably were because there weren't computers or anything like that. But I doubt that they had um, a whole bunch of petty cash around in their office, more than just enough to go out and buy some more copying paper or whatever, let alone $50,000 of students' money just lying around. Um, I believe checks were used. Checks were still around there. They're popular. $50,000 in checks, yeah, I could probably see that. Um, but those are hard to steal. Wow, Mr. University, uh, that's okay. You could call me Harvard. Um, how would you be able to actually like cash the checks? I don't know. And I doubt anybody would have like $50,000 in tuition money. I figure like back then that might have been for a full 4 years for that, or like maybe a whole bunch of students. Like all those people all paying the same way and it all being in cash, just like didn't make sense. But it had to make sense because they had to steal the cash. And but Robin captures the guy, brings him in to the local police department. The police chief has a broken arm, and they're talking about the whole case and going on and stuff like this, and like trying to say we got him, but he claims that he doesn't do it. I'm like, no, I can't believe him. Like, what do you think might happen? And like, we have to think about this. And then like the bursar, or the chief financial officer of the college comes in, and he's all upset. You finally got him. Where's the money? Did you get the money back? Where's the money? You guys are incompetent. You can't even get money back, anything like that. And it's like Robin like thinks of something. So Robin deduces that it's the bursar who stole the money. He's looking to use the guy as a scapegoat, and probably even like get even more money back out of it because of like having like the insurance payout or whatever. So he does this like kind of like an open room, kind of like Agatha Christie kind of thing, to confront the guy in the chief police chief's office while he's doing that, and the guy gets progressively angrier, and he goes like he finally he's standing against the window, and he goads the bursar into admitting that he did it, and not only that, attacking him. And as he's going towards Robin, the police chief comes up, and this is where the whole clocking him with the broken arm comes in and clocks him in the head and knocks him cold and knocks him silly. So they find their culprit, and I think they get the money back for the university. And the final panel is Robin with his girlfriend at the time riding their motorcycle somewhere, and like hey, I don't know what we're gonna do in the woods by ourselves. Do you have anything that we two could do together? And Robin slashing a goofy smile, which would probably go over the heads of a lot of like the 5, 6, 7s, or even 3-year-olds who are reading it. But looking back as a filthy old man, realize, oh yeah, Robin's getting some up there from this blonde hippie chick, and more power to him. It'll be a couple years before Coriander enters his life, and get the ball things good. The story was much better than the first one, but it still had like the whole like plot holes and stuff like that and everything like that. It was written by Bob Rozakis. Maybe I'm a little more generous because you might have noticed in one of an earlier segment of Girlfriend's Guide to Comics, I have professed my love for the Amazing Man series, which was created by Rozakis. So I might be giving him a little more leeway here. But the artwork is by somebody who I've not liked in this segment multiple times, was Alan Milgrom. This is probably some of his first work in comic books, and at times it seems like he's aping Jim Starlin a little bit, especially in the first panel of the story. That looks exactly like a Jim Starlin's face. I don't know if like Jim Starlin and like I know a lot of the creators back then were all roommates and stuff like that. Oh, Howard Chaykin used to be a roomie of Walter Simonson, who was also a roommate of Jeffrey Jones, and they all kind of like hung out together, and Bernie Wrightson, and they were all like close personal friends, and they'd be working on each other's stuff like that. And so I don't know if like Alan Milgrom was in a studio or a space with Jim Starlin or roommates or whatever. But yeah, like it seemed more of a looser, more fluid kind of style from still amateur, still young, still like raw around the edges, but much better than the artwork he came to later, which is more of a husky with thick lines and lower definition, and like sloppy, faster, kind of like quick, less defined artwork that I've come to know and loathe. But I digress. But yeah, it was just a hoot to see like that whole thing, and like bringing back the memories of it. Like I said, it hit store shelves in I think September 7th of 1975, September 7th or 8th. one of those days. And like I said, there's 2 months before my 4th birthday. My parents always used to say, like, I started reading at an early age. That I taught myself through reading TV guides, which I find dubious. Their main kind of evidence towards this is because one time my father came back from work and, hey, I want to, like, what time is Rockford Files on tonight? I want to catch that. And I go, like, it's on at 10 o'clock, Dad. And I was like a little toddler. Because like I definitely went through the TV guide and tore it apart because, and like, I was one of those kind of babies. But that's what they said. Like, I learned how to read. So like perhaps maybe that's why they trusted me to actually um, get this comic and read it. Um, but as bad as it was, I don't know if I realized exactly how bad it was back then because if you're a kid, a lot of the stuff that I found irksome as an adult would probably fly right over my head as a kid reading this. But who knows? Like maybe I was savvy enough to realize, hey, this is not that good. Maybe I should, not get any Batman or Superman books. But thankfully, it did not scare me off getting comic books altogether. And a lot of it might have due to the Dennis the Menace comic book I got at the same time. That might have kept my fire burning on that way. But yeah, this is the ballad of my first comic book I ever remember getting. Do you remember the first comic book you picked up as a kid, as a child? Do you remember what it was? Do you have it in your collection? I do have this one in my collection. But I'm got it in a pretty good condition, just because it's of historical value. And if I become, a billionaire president slash inventor slash something else that's equally unrealistic of a person my age and stature to eventually become, that might have a little bit of cachet and be able to get a lot of money for it. Probably not. But did you read the book? Do you agree with my assessment of the book? Do you think I was being too harsh? Do you think I was being too lenient? Do you think, do you have positive memories of your book that you remember getting as your first comic book? If so, share it in the comments. Share it all in the comments. I try to keep a track on it, and I try to look after it, and just to, keep up with it when I do that, and try to say a little thing here and there when I can. Yeah, if I can't, that means I don't really know how to respond. So don't be offended. It's just that I might be a little bit slow of mind. But yeah, but if you like this segment, I walk down memory lane every single week, usually on Wednesdays. So you can always check back then. But if you don't want to constantly have to remember checking back in because it's a pain, YouTube is nice enough to give you the subscribe function and that little bell next to it, which not only will let you know when any of my videos actually arrive live on site, but also give you like a little notification to also know, like, put it to the forefront of all the videos that you're watching on the site. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope to get some response from this, and if I don't, I will see you again. But until I see you again, keep on collecting.